Oh boy, we have a bombshell that just got dropped this morning. Everybody that wants this cat skinning sports card stuff to go away is going to have to take a back seat for a little while. The New York Times just dropped this article today. Behind the scenes, I was actually helping them work on this. I got interviewed for it among several other people in the industry. And I'm going to walk you through some of the key sections because there's a lot of stuff that you haven't heard yet, and a lot of things even I didn't realize after reading this. So the article kicks off saying that I was the first to drop this. I actually told them about Rattle because he's the one that broke the news, but they didn't include him for better or worse. So I was obviously very vocal about this back in July. I was the first person to interview Industrial Inspection, who is mentioned throughout this article. And my opinion at the time was they were a lot like Napster. I don't know if anybody's my age, they remember Napster and LimeWire and Kazaa and all those companies that they weren't actually committing a crime, but everybody using them was. I felt like that's maybe what was happening with these guys, where essentially they'd sell the boxes as duds. And that is actually fraud. And they actually interviewed a lawyer in this to talk more about that. So here's the lawyer, Paul Lesko. He says that consumer fraud claims they require a knowingly false representation about a product with the intent to like dupe the buyers, right? And so if the box has certain odds on it, or it says contains 2 autographs, if you're sitting there scanning it and you realize it's a dud and then you sell it, you're misrepresenting what's actually on the package. That's false advertising, and that could be fraud. And he even says here it may actually follow its way back up to the company in some cases, which I found interesting and didn't know before. This is interesting. If you guys missed it, I dropped a video a couple months back that they can actually look at centering within down to the micron. So they could look into a pack, see if this Tom Brady rookie card is in it. And if you look over here, it's like 3.2537 millimeters. That is a micron. You can look at this card, right? This is like centered like a 6. So you may say to yourself, all right, what is a Tom Brady 6 worth? Not enough. And you might just resell the pack, right? Just not even the fact that the card's in there, but the card in there isn't up to the quality that you expect or want. Another interesting thing, the cat scanning company says there's actually been threats. People have like shown up to the office and threatened them. They found out where they are. So they've had to cover the windows. The other thing interesting here, Nat Turner, the owner of Collectors, which owns PSA, was on our show. And he's honestly the only business person in sports cards that is taking this seriously. And I respect the hell out of Nat. I think he is the best businessman in our space. Way, way better than some of the jokesters like Jeff Wilson. And he admitted, he's like, this is a disruption. You have to assume every box has been scanned now. That's on eBay. And manufacturers are going to have to respond. And honestly, I couldn't have said it better myself. This is a box of Mega Optics. So the New York Times actually went to this facility. This is what their CAT scanner looks like. You can shut the door, obviously. And they looked at some boxes for themselves that were very successfully scanned. So they could see the players inside and all of that. And it was very interesting. They talk about that in the article as well. They get into prices a little bit. And it mentions that Topps Dynasty is their favorite. It's the easiest to detect. It's a single package. It's just got 1 to 2 cards, typically 1 card. Super, super easy. I'm going to tell you guys right now, don't buy any Topps Dynasty on the secondary market ever, 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 ever again. Ever. Okay? I can't make that clear enough. It is so easy to see right here. That's a Max Verstappen card. There's your serial number, 10 out of 10. If you ever see this sold on eBay, 10 out of 10, this card, boom, you know it's been CAT scanned. You can actually trace the buyer. This was interesting, and it's disappointing. Topps, Panini, and Upper Deck all declined interviews for this. They, it also says that the Industrial Inspection has potentially worked with some of these manufacturers, but is obviously under an NDA and can't talk about this further. Same thing with auction houses and third-party services and yada, yada, yada. But the biggest thing that bothers me is that like Fanatics right here, the only thing they told them was, while we believe that CT scanners aren't currently being widely utilized, we take any issue that potentially harms collectors very seriously. As such, we are working on innovations to address the issue. That's all you got? I mean, come on, guys. Like, you own like 80% of the market. Once Panini loses licenses, it's going to be even more. And you got to say more. Like, we're working on this. There's a solution in sight. Or just be honest and be like, maybe the solution's 3 years out, but this isn't enough. We need a little more from Fanatics. We need more from Panini as well. They flat out declined the interview completely. Golden Auctions and parent company eBay declined the interview. I mean, this is like the New York Times. You think you want to like address this. Upper Deck says, they might do an interview down the road. This is crazy. Like, the manufacturers need to say something so that people can calm down and maybe even know what's safe and what's not. This is pretty gnarly right here. We're not verifying our clients. A lot of them assume we are using fake emails. We don't know who they are. We use Square for processing. They are doing it. They're not keeping a database. They're not keeping a list. There's never going to be like an Ashley Madison leak of names that have used this company. Everybody using them, it's like a backdoor. I bet they probably even accept cash. So you are never going to find the people unless they want to be found that are using this. It also talks about their stance on the ethics of this, where it's not our responsibility to determine the ethical positions and choices of others. All along, I've obviously talked to this company. I still do. I have no problem with people CAT scanning for like fun. I've done that myself. Or maybe you even like, hey, all right, there's a Jordan in that box, but I'm going to keep the box forever. And so now I just know there's a Jordan in it and that's cool. Or maybe Baseball Card Exchange levels up and not just like verifies by looking with their eyeballs. They actually CAT scan, make sure they're not G.I. Joe cards. I think that's another good application. The application I don't love is when they're getting scanned and then fraud is being committed on eBay. I think it's clever. It's capitalism and it's clever that people are doing this, but I don't like that as much. And I have expressed that to this company multiple times, just to make sure you guys don't think I'm a complete and total cheerleader. This part really pisses me off. Jeff Wilson, the biggest clown in our industry, has repeatedly said that this doesn't affect 99% of collectors. I conducted a survey that said 21% of my followers would buy wax over $10,000 and are therefore affected. So this is just a clown thing to say. Jeff Wilson also has 3 to 4 conflicts of interest. They never would have conducted that initial CAT scanning interview that I did. And he gets quoted in the article and direct link to the video. The only good news is that video mentions me, the Sports Card Madness YouTube channel, and my show. So honestly, if you're watching this, give me some good karma out of this and hit that follow button or the subscribe button, because this is just crazy. It's just another example of this clown like just finding his way into something that he had nothing to do with and actually was opposed to and continues to think isn't a big deal. So they quoted his video a couple weeks ago. I cooked him on Instagram. I'm Boston Card Hunter on there and just totally bashed everything he said in the video. But if you want to check it out, they direct linked for you. Wonderful, right? I'm going to close this down with prevention and how to stop things from being detected. I didn't realize that trains near this place, that the CAT scan equipment was so sensitive that train vibrations can mess up the scans. So basically he's saying that all new packaging, all they have to do is introduce a slight vibration to the cards, and it makes it very challenging for them to read. I don't know what that looks like. Is it like a wind-up clock inside the packs? Some sort of vibrating something, like a battery? I don't know what they could possibly do. I know these guys mentioned on their website that they were working on they have patented a process to prevent this scanning. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I think this technology is years away, though. It does nothing for old wax and all the wax for the next couple of years. Just assume it's scanned. I don't think there's any way they can stop it. So it's here. This is a big article. It's going to do well. It's going to make some waves today. I'm going to link the article in the description so you guys can check it out. And I'm just glad that I was one small part in raising the awareness of CAT scanning, because there's still a subset of people who don't think this is happening. And this is one of probably 20 companies now doing it. And I'm glad this article is probably going to hit people who aren't on Instagram, aren't on YouTube. They're not following the normal people, and they might think like, oh, they're just buying stuff on eBay. Now they might think twice about buying wax on eBay. So ultimately, I think wax price is going to come down. I think a lot of wax is going to get open because it's more economically sensible to do so because of articles like this. And I can promise you guys, I'm not done, sharing what I feel like sharing on this. And I imagine, ding, 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 that there's probably going to be some more articles to follow. Thanks, everyone.